Hello and welcome to the 79th episode of Growing Up Geek, the weekly podcast for geek entertainment and nostalgia. My name is Brad, and I am joined by a man who is on the all-funnel cake diet, my brother Rob.
And fried Oreos, too.
Yeah, yes, he has given up.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing swell.
That's great. I've reached the point in my life where I no longer go to Kennywood for the rides. I just go for the food. And I wish they sold some sort of food pass, you know, where you didn't have to pay. You don't have to. It's like, I'm not here to ride anything. I mean, when I did ride things, I rode like the extremely slow rides, like the Ghost Shooter.
I don't even think that qualifies as a ride because you're on a still chair.
Oh, dude, have you been on Noah's Ark lately?
Yeah.
It is
dangerous.
Deviating very much from the biblical text. We'll just say that. You begin by riding a service elevator into the core of the earth.
Yeah. And then you end by riding in a watertight, watertight.
Yeah. The ending is hilarious. It's like Bioshock looking like steampunk room that you're all shuffled into. And then there's this scream. Like, you actually go through the Ark portion where there's like animals and Noah's family and stuff. But then at the very end, they tack on this like
bathysphere action.
Yeah, bathysphere, where you're suddenly like, I really felt like I was in Bioshock, and like water starts pouring down and the wall like bubbles in, and they're like, get out of here, get out of here. You hear like someone screaming.
It really, not to dwell on this for too long, but it feels like it's two rides tacked on together. One is a ride where you fall deep underground and explore the underground, and the other is a ride inside Noah's Ark, because there's a clear moment where you're out above ground seeing the sky and stuff. At no point are you like, okay, so I'm thousands of miles underground and I need to ride a bathysphere up.
But what I love about that bathysphere ending, and was it like this for you, where at the very end they go, okay, it's caving in, we gotta go, and I'm like, holy crap, they're gonna squirt us with water? Then the doors just sort of casually swing open behind me.
Yeah.
Daylight pours in, and I walk outside.
Right.
That was all that happened. Like, the exit door opens.
Yeah, and some guy's just like, all right, get out.
Totally. Like, when I saw the Titanic movie at the IMAX, and at the very end, like, this soothing music plays, and it's like, darkness, darkness. And over top, the loudspeaker goes, everybody leave, please get out. It was like, well, that killed the mood of the survivors or whatever. But anyway, we ate a lot of fried Oreos, funnel cake. The Potato Patch is now putting hot wings on their fries.
No way.
On their cheese fries. So yes,
hot wings are officially a topping for fries.
Yeah, in America, it's not finished unless it's slathered. But what did you put on your funnel cake?
Well, actually, I went to Atlantic City.
Yeah.
This was a special occasion, so me and my girlfriend sort of let ourselves go off our Weight Watchers for a day.
Exactly.
But I got Reese's peanut butter cups melted over the funnel cake, which I gotta say, I mean, when you eat it, your eyes just kind of roll back in your head.
Yeah, it's like food heaven, right? I mean,
well, or you're just a trance that you're flying on a carpet for a while, like chocolate drooling from your mouth.
Get off the children's merry-go-round, you're drunk. Yeah, it was totally like that for me. The fried Oreo, dude, like after eating it, the taste, like, there's nothing like it for me. So I'm like, it's this giant dough ball around this mushy Oreo, and I want that again. You know,
that was like, the first time I ever had them, and wow, they really are delicious. I gotta say, and unhealthy, but it makes me think, what else can we fry?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Fair food is just awesome. If I could pick it's funny because there's like, you know, different cuisines. Yeah, that would be my choice.
It'd be great to watch like Food Network and see like one of the chefs just like wait till the last minute and then drop down some Oreos.
Yeah, like on Iron Chef, they just whip back the thing and they're like, your ingredient is Kit Kats, you know, or something. Anyway, let's move on to geek news. This week, what was your favorite geeky news story?
Well, something of interest that caught my eye and that some people have been abuzz about was the more or less merger of Bethesda and id Software under one umbrella, which is called Zenimax, or a company called Zenimax.
Yeah.
So there's
the most like evil sounding corporation name
next to Umbrella Corporation, which they are. You know.
Well, real quick, for those who don't know, who is Bethesda? Who is id? Just titles that they would
Bethesda
know.
Is Fallout 3 and Oblivion. Okay.
Right.
Id is Doom 1, 2, and 3, Wolfenstein, and they're now working on Rage Engine. And you've probably played a few games that have been made on some of their engines.
Right. And id Tech 5 is going to be the technology behind Rage. It's insane stuff, but it's always like the cutting edge of PC gaming. The cool thing is that id Tech 5 will focus on console gaming as well. So id's a great company, and I know you twittered about this. You were really excited about. Why are you excited about these two companies being like?
Because Bethesda is awesome at making game, or making.
That's like a weird like Dr. Spatzo sentence.
Right.
Awesome at game.
No. Well, seriously, they're good developers. They make fun games
and good stories too, most of the time, right?
Good stories, good everything. Id, on the other hand, while John Carmack makes incredible technology, that they always kind of just end up slapping on some sort of loose thing to be on top of it. Mm-hmm. And so it's cool to see like a legit developer get their hands on like first dibs on John Carmack's technologies,
Sure.
And be able to really put some cool force into that.
Yeah. He actually was quoted as saying that he hopes that they can extend their franchises under one roof, and the way he put it was leverage their capabilities across multiple teams. So I'm thinking, if you could combine the great story and the great tech, that would be awesome. I thought it was funny that John Romero, who is like a co-founder of id, he worked on Doom, but he later made the ill-fated Daikatana, among other things. He was twittering about this, and his first Twitter was Zenimax, disgusting.
Okay.
And then later he writes, I am positive about the Zenimax deal. My initial reaction was harsh. Sorry. So like he kind of pulled like a Steve Ballmer there. I mean, that's what Twitter is good for in a sense. But
I definitely think that Bethesda, being these people who've made these games that are known for their vast expansiveness, they need to generate a lot of stuff procedurally to have such large worlds. And the strength of id Tech 5 is that you can have a giant world that is inch for inch artist designed.
Right, yeah.
And be miles and miles long. And so now you have that kind of power in the hands of people who know how to make interesting stuff around every corner.
Yeah. You were saying that Fallout always has some, great moment, great piece of story, great piece of action around the corners. But tech-wise, when I look at that game, it feels a little bit dated. The frame rate feels a little bit jittery.
It'll just give them more artistic control. And like I said, it's less cost to them because now they're all under one roof.
I want to say real quickly, a lot of people might be like, who cares about merger news? And like, why get excited about two corporations, whatever they're doing, or what the heck? But following the creative people behind the games, to me, it makes a lot of sense. Because like Guitar Hero and Call of Duty, if you just keep playing those games, and see, I think the masses do this, that they go out and they buy the next Guitar Hero. But there's a reason why Guitar Hero 3 feels a little off compared to 2. It's because Neversoft developed that, whereas Harmonix did too.
Yeah.
Or Call of Duty, where like, why is 4 so much better than 3 or better than the one after? It's because you're looking at Infinity Ward and Treyarch, two totally different developers. So if you're up to speed on that stuff, then you can follow sort of where the lightning is going to strike.
Right. There's nothing to a name. You can slap Star Wars on the front of anything and it will sell.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that the forces behind it are going to be as good. That maybe was a bad analogy because when the forces behind Star Wars got back, it was kind of bad.
Yeah, but no, you're excited about Star Wars Old Republic because of BioWare. Or not because of Star Wars, because there's been, god-awful memories of...
Ugh. Remember the Yoda game? On the on Windows-based mini action game. I don't know if I remember that. Anyways, moving on.
If anyone remembers that, email us.
Yeah, Brad, your favorite news story this week?
My favorite geeky news is the last Airbender teaser trailer. This has, I guess it's either a teaser or a trailer, but this thing is tacked onto the front of Transformers 2. So if you, like Rob and I, went and saw that this week, and we'll talk about that in a second, you saw this, and this is significant because it is directed by M. Night Shyamalan, who up until now has not done someone else's material. He's always done his own films, Sixth Sense, etc. And this doesn't show a whole lot, but what it does show real quickly is a hooded figure who's sort of swinging a bow staff all around him. He's surrounded by candles, and the character is Aang, who is the last Airbender, the title character, and he's blowing out the candles with his sort of moves. I gotta say, the skill of this kid, I was very impressed. He's a I want to say Taekwondo, trained, and someone can correct me on that.
It's actually more or less Tai Chi.
It's like Tai Chi. Well, I'm saying the actor himself, Noah Ringer, I think. He was very impressive, and he's blowing out these candles, and at the very end, he sort of shoots a giant air blast out of the front of this temple. You pan out, and you see that the Fire Nation is attacking the cliffside, and then it pans out to see a massive Fire Nation naval fleet. Cut to the title, and you see the 4 symbols there of Earth, Wind, Water, and Fire. For those who don't know, this is the Nickelodeon cartoon series that is over now, I think. But I've never really gotten into it. It's on Netflix Instant Stream, and I've tried. It has a really cool premise, though, and I would love to see M. Night's version of this. So if that teaser was designed to get me excited, it totally worked. What did you think?
I was definitely excited just at the prospect of this being made into a movie because, like you said, it's a great concept. 4 nations for each of the elements and like people who essentially are in charge of controlling those elements.
They're called benders, hence the title.
Exactly. The Air Nation is all but extinct, and the last person from the Air Nation is this kid.
Right.
The Nickelodeon series was called Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Right.
And this is just called The Last Airbender, so it won't be confused with the James Cameron Avatar that's coming out.
I'm sure, yeah.
But the Avatar is one person who can control all 4 elements.
Yeah.
Any of it that I have watched, I've enjoyed, and I would like to check it out more.
Yeah, it's quality. I mean, the animation alone is a different standard for like television.
Exactly. Like it's fluid and also detailed. It's the best of both worlds. But I really thought, this was cool, and the reveal of the kid playing it, I was all kind of worried, like up to the point where he pulled his hood back.
Right.
Because I thought, oh man, is this guy gonna look ridiculous? Like, is this gonna look stupid? And I thought it was right, the arrow on top of his head was kind of like more like glyphy and
it's stylized,
cool. Exactly.
Rather than just this iconic look in the cartoon, which I think makes sense, and I think they're gonna give it more of a realistic flavor. And M. Night is very good at that. He puts the realism in his films, and then he combines it with the supernatural. Love that. There has been controversy about the casting because Aang is a white actor, although I think he looks like he's white on the cartoon, so I don't know the big deal. But a bunch of these actors that have been cast are not the same race as the character on the show. Like Zuko, I believe it's Zuko is the Fire Nation villain, and he's going to be played by Dev Patel from Slumdog Millionaire, if you saw that movie, the main character.
All right.
Which is cool.
That makes sense. Let's get something straight. Like, these aren't any established races, They're fire people and wind people. They're not African and Eskimo, Like, it's open to interpretation. I'm fine with that. As long as they get the story right.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool departure for him. I definitely think he's been doing a lot of stuff more or less for his kids.
Yeah,
recently.
It's true. And I mean, Lady in the Water was clearly like for his kids. And that's where I felt like it suffered because that. I was a little bit more hopeful because of The Happening. I thought it was a step up a bit, but a tiny one. And I'm a fan of M. Night. I just want to say, M. Night, I'm rooting for you. I really don't want his career to go down the toilet. He has so much left in him, I think. So here's hoping.
Yeah, it did take a little bit of balls, I think, for him to put up right front that this movie is by director M. Night Shyamalan.
Right.
I was expecting after kind of the fluke of the past 2 movies that maybe they would say, okay, let's not make your name the big selling point about this. Just let the franchise sell itself.
Yeah.
But,
it has clout with some people, but like you said, it's his reputation has been tarnished. I think he needs a change of pace to bring it back. Hopefully this does it. Word up. So, having said that, let's move on to our main topic of discussion, which this week is going to be Transformers 2: Revenge of the Fallen. What is the storyline of this movie? There are giant robots.
There's big robots.
And Shia LaBeouf is there. It's similar to the story of the first one. I'm not going to go into it much, but they are trying to find the remaining fragments of the Allspark. The Decepticons are back again. They are trying to resurrect an ancient power, and no one cares about the story. It's directed by Michael Bay. You were actually excited to see this because the Super Bowl trailer, I know, got you pumped.
Yeah, it had a very exciting, energetic trailer, and I was sort of excited to see some of the deeper kind of mythology of Transformers being referenced. But in the end, it's a Michael Bay movie. It's not a Bryan Singer movie, you know. He's not paying any respects to anyone other than the companies that he gets to do product placement for.
There's a lot of sighing that happens when people talk about this movie. Let's break it down. Why is this movie bad? I've said before I didn't enjoy the first Transformers movie. I know you did.
I thought it was fun, you know. It was good for what it was. It was digestible. It was like, bam, you know, here's some action, some robots fighting, which there's not enough of in American movies.
Right, I agree. And if I sort of thought the first movie was just sort of big, loud, and dumb.
Yeah.
Which means that Transformers 2 is bigger, louder, and dumber, if I could say it that way.
Here is my official quote. This movie is a big, drunk, annoying fat guy.
Perfect. There you go. No, I agree with you. It throws everything at you except for compelling characters and story. Let's just start with the acting. For some reason, everyone in this movie is on sugar.
Yeah.
Like, they are literally shaking and quivering with energy. I mean, Shia LaBeouf is generally an energetic guy, and he's, like, at 11. Like, no one in this movie can calm down at all. They must be screaming.
Yeah.
And, like, it has, like, a really unsettling effect where you're just like, it's almost like they said, like, if you're not constantly shouting, the audience will leave. So you must continue shouting. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, did you feel that way? My God, there's so much energy towards nothing.
Right. It's you know, like, you jump right into a scene of something that's actually not too exciting, but they just, because everybody's acting excited about it, then it's, you know, it's all this sort of mom, dad, mom, dad, mom, dad.
Exactly.
You know, like,
when they get to the hacker lab, it's like, we got to dial up the ICQ956.coms, and then the guy's like, we got a signal. He's like, all right, PPB that baby, or whatever. It's just constant shouting of military slang, hacker slang, bad youth dialogue.
It's like all of the dialogue that should be written for the background, that should be drowned out, is brought to the forefront.
Yes.
And the guy who's actually stating what's going on is often a different movie.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about the action real quick, because I really started to feel sad toward the end of this movie, which, by the way, it clocks in. It feels like almost 3 hours.
It is 2.5. But it feels like 3.5. Like,
there are 8 finales to this movie.
Yeah.
And everything explodes. So this is why I sort of had this sad feeling, because of how much money must have been spent in this movie and how great it looks. Like, I have to admit, like, everything looks awesome. There's a shot in Saving Private Ryan of a building blowing up next to a guy. And the guy kind of gets enveloped in the dust, and he ducks down. And it's a really, like, shocking thing when it happens, and you're like, oh my God, war is crazy. In this movie, that happens like 8 times, and like a stuntman flies through the air, which is amazing looking, but it might as well be an effects reel.
Yeah, I mean, whenever the movie started, to be honest, like the first couple minutes, I was like, cool, robots, action, this is fun, you know? But by the end, I was frankly numb to it. I didn't care how many robots were exploding in slow motion. How many slow-mo scenes of running and just stuff are there? And it's not getting anywhere. You're just like, can we just get done with this and get this over with? No.
I'm really surprised that this is co-written by the people that wrote Star Trek, which I really liked, and Mission Impossible 3, which I loved. And that movie, right at the beginning, it grabs you with the human drama. And only then do you care about the action, you know?
Yeah.
This movie had none of that. I mean, there's the thinnest story between Shia LaBeouf and Michaela, you know, Megan Fox's character. I have to talk about humanizing the robots. Apparently, the robots can have a beard, or be British, or be Scottish, or have glasses. One of the robots actually is a doctor robot with a German accent and glasses.
Yeah.
2 of them, and this is a controversial thing if you read online, 2 of the ones, Skids and Mudflap, these 2 characters, are like stereotypically black with buck gold teeth, and they actually go, we don't do much reading.
Yep.
If you are black or German or Scottish, you shouldn't see this movie. Because it's just embarrassing.
Yeah, it really, that whole angle of these are alien robots just kind of went out the window. You're like, really the only respectable robots are the Decepticons, because they seem outer worldly.
No, after we saw it, Amber was like, the Decepticons were 1,000,000 times better. Why would the Autobots ever win? They're all morons. The Decepticons have amazing technology, you know?
Ugh.
The movie thinks it's funny, and it just dangles crap in front of you. It dangles women in front of you like pieces of meat, you know what I mean? Like, Megan Fox is a object in this movie. I'm not speaking about women. I'm speaking about in this movie, she is just there for meat. And so is the girlfriend, the Decepticon
not
girl.
To spoil anything, but that whole plot could have been cut out of the movie. Like, it really wasn't. What the only reason it was there was so that Michael Bay could say, "Well, in the last movie, I discovered Megan Fox, and in this movie, I discovered, Glenn Morshower." I don't know, like
Glenn Morshower. Wow, now that's gonna be Googled like a million times, Okay. Speaking of the robots, I felt like, from a design standpoint, they are still way too over-designed. They are way too complex. I know some people like the new look. They have 1,000,000 parts, and it really aggravates me because when the robots fight, which, like you said, there isn't enough robot fighting, but dude, when they fight, I can't tell what is happening. I cannot see what is happening. There are too many parts smashing into other parts. Go ahead.
Really, like, the action sequences in this movie, I understand they want to give it that sort of shaky camera Saving Private Ryan thing to add a layer of realism.
Right.
But really, seriously, they didn't overcome resolving that with being able to tell what's going on. There are some major events in this movie that just happen. It's just like just sort of stumbling around, tripping over myself. Oops, there's a big plot point that kind of just was flushed out the window.
And here's the thing: we got to take our medicine and calm down here. But when you are a human being, a fleshy, soft human being, the size of like an ant compared to these massive things, you're gonna get killed because these things roll all over the place with no care whatsoever. And Amber was saying, like, they would have all been squashed 1,000,000 times. There's one part where they shout, "Run under its legs, that's the safest part."
Yeah.
And it's like, no, the thing is insanely sharp. It has 1,000,000 parts. And I love how they, like, pick up people and, like, hold them and stuff. You would be crushed instantly. They just make no physical sense.
It seemed like a moment from a video game. Get under its legs, it'll be safe.
Shoot the red part.
Exactly.
These things make no physical sense. If you stretched physically an SR-71, which was one of my favorite planes when I was a kid, loved the Blackbird, stretch it out to the height that thing was, it would be like paper thin. There's not enough material there,
Right.
It just feels stupid. I'm sorry. We're going off, but
I understand.
Put a cap on this. Shoot it in the head.
Originally, the Transformers had to be designed to be able to be transformed out of whatever they were inhabiting because they were, first and foremost, a toy.
Right.
You had to have a truck that transformed into a robot. And how do you make that work? And so once they figured that out, then they had the character design. In this case, Michael Bay can just say, well, I want little balls to turn into a giant robot.
Oh, no, like, not that scene.
You're like, if it confuses you enough, then maybe you can believe it's real. Like, that's kind of his motto, I think.
Let's put it this way. In the end, Michael Bay made robots fighting each other boring.
Yeah. It was literally like they said to Michael Bay, make a 2.5-hour long movie. And he's like, okay, I'll see what I can do. I only have like 1 page worth of stuff here.
It's like you're a baby and they're shaking a rattle in front of you and doing any kind of goofus face to try to get you excited. There's just a million.
Reach out to. There's a million
like
offenses.
I said, it throws everything. There's a million offenses. You can read it online about plot holes. I haven't even touched plot holes. There's a shot of John Turturro in a thong.
Yeah, one moment people are in a car, the next moment they're not. Like, I noticed that.
Bumblebee's voice was fixed at the end of the last movie, and in this one, it's back to being the radio.
Yep.
This movie doesn't care about you. Please don't care about it.
And how would a Decepticon on a mission be grossed out by goo and be like, I'm going to walk away? Like,
yeah, that's the thing. There's goo suddenly. Where did this goo come from? And like fathering robots, now they can have offspring and descendants. We can't spoil it because it's there's a major Deus Ex Machina at the end of this movie, literally, that saves a character's life, and it's like, what? That came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, we gotta move on here, but That was Transformers 2. Please don't go see it. That's my 2 cents. Do you want to throw anything in there?
If you feel at all compelled to see this movie, maybe it's best to see it now while it's in a big theater and you at least are like, wow, it's loud and big. Because I can't even recommend it as a rental, because as a rental, it's going to be on a small screen, and whatever appeal it had as far as spectacle is also going to be gone. Right. So really just avoid this movie.
That's a good point. All right, so let's move on now to our nostalgia segment. Every week we like to reminisce about growing up geek. And, boy, this is really going to put a nice cap on the show. Last week, a lot of celebrities died.
Yeah.
In a big way. It was.
Yeah, I think the death is under new management, because this is what a company does. When it's under new management, it's like, all right, we got to get some big names, and bring them down. Exactly. So it's like, this is what it feels like.
There was Ed McMahon and Michael Jackson and Farrah Fawcett and Billy Mays, the OxyClean guy. In fact, one of the best Twitter posts I saw somebody said they were going to pour out a bottle of Kaboom for Billy Mays. I thought that was excellent. But I wanted to focus on Michael Jackson because I've heard the jokes and everything, and it's like I don't think this is the right time to do that. We have talked on this show before about Captain EO, a big Disney 3D ride that he was the main star in, science fiction thing. But that was the thing about Michael Jackson. He would do crazy things, and a lot of it would work, such as the Moonwalker video game, in which he fights robots, and the power of his song blows people away, just like Captain EO. But he has died, obviously, and so I figured let's just reminisce a little bit.
I think it goes without saying, like, Michael Jackson for a period back then was the man. He could do no wrong.
Like, women loved him and guys wanted to be him.
Yeah.
Like, bad was not a joke. Like, he was bad.
Yeah.
At one point.
It's worth pointing out that in Beat It, those were real Los Angeles gangsters that he was dancing with, like
right, yeah. And you talk about videos. I mean, that's sort of the whole thing I remember most is a series of television events, in a way, because every time he had a new premiere, I don't know if you remember this, but we like all gathered around, like when the black and white video premiered.
Yep.
Before they edited it, the whole car smashing thing at the end.
Yeah.
Which in itself is bad. Like, that whole ending where he's jumping on the car, he's crushing things and stuff. It's a little bit weird, but it's like, again, just gutsy kind of artistic stuff where it's like, what is the point of this? Insane, like, morph technology. And Thriller, dude. I mean, scary when I was a kid.
Absolutely. I don't even think I was, like, allowed to watch it for a good period of time. I remember our good friend's mom, she was a huge Michael Jackson fan and could, like, chronicle his, whole...
his transformation.
I mean, we can remember Macaulay Culkin rapping.
That's right.
And saying, he's not going to live his life being a color.
Yeah, I want to rock. Yeah, that's like a Twisted Sister parody. How about the one with Magic Johnson as the Pharaoh? Remember, like, the Egyptian one? It was like, do you remember the time or whatever? Where he turns into liquid metal.
He was dust, yeah.
Oh, he turned into dust. Yeah, that's right.
The one he did with Janet Jackson, that Pressure song or whatever, which had like anime and stuff in it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think somebody said recently that towards the end, he got more famous for spending money than he did for making money.
Right, yeah, exactly. Obviously, he famously owned a lot of the Beatles music and everything. Another television event thing, do you remember the History trailer? Whenever he put out his album, there was this I encourage people to go YouTube this. I just watched it, and it still totally, like, holds up. It was actually shown in movie theaters. He has an army of, like, Nazi-like dancers with him, and they're, like, marching in step, and then they stop, and they sort of do, like, the steps and the kicks and gun flips and stuff, all in sequence. It's pretty cool. And then they unveil this massive Michael Jackson statue, and, like, women are fainting, and, like, people are crying, and helicopters are flying.
You could say what you want about his personal life. I don't think anybody in the world could be like, yeah, and he really he's not that good of a singer, and his dance moves really overrated, like.
Yeah. Well, you're big into music. I wanted to talk to you about this, like, and for those who don't think he's a good singer, just try to sing Beat It on Karaoke Revolution. Like, it will murder you. But yeah, producers seem to be big fans of Michael Jackson's. Like, I know Amber was saying she saw Timberland on the news, and he was basically broken up about it. Like, he was crying when he was talking about it, because a lot of music producers have been really influenced by Michael Jackson and his career, and they said he was booking his comeback tour. I keep thinking, like, all of those producers who are so big, Timbaland, Kanye West, and everybody, like, they could have produced like the baddest like Michael Jackson album. They would have done it for free.
Yeah.
You know? I'm surprised that never happened.
Well, I mean, you could always expect maybe a retrospective. I was also curious, like, I don't know if Michael Jackson had projects in the works that maybe we'll see like a release of some just stuff that's been around, but
yeah.
It is worth showing, like, how, he calls himself the king of pop. It was a term he coined.
Right.
But now a lot of people are kind of embracing that. And I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, when you talk about what pop music is, where it's not a single artist writing and creating their own music, but rather a huger machine
right.
forcing forward one thing. And Michael Jackson, the person, was actually quite different, but had to put a lot of effort into manufacturing this image.
Yeah. It is a lot more than just songs. It is an image, it is dancing, it is all that, music videos.
But you really had to get it to a certain degree. And just, as an example, Beat It had Eddie Van Halen playing guitar.
Right,
and a solo that was distinctly him. But at the time, they weren't trying to make a rock album, but they wanted an album that, even if you liked rock music,
right,
there was something in there for you. Even if you like R&B music, there's something there for you.
Yeah.
So that's the standard that all pop producers like Timbaland have to live up to. They have to say, how am I going to make music that is going to reach out to everybody?
Popular, literally.
Music that reaches the masses.
Right.
He
definitely did that. So an influential person for sure, and Celebrity Death Fest 09 will probably continue. Who will be next? We don't know. It is crazy. It's what
Kerry Malden, but he was 97 years old, so that
there you go.
Sense.
Yeah, a friend of mine at work told me that the guitar player in the Ink Spots just passed away at 104, and I was kind of like, well, but still, it's the Ink Spots sing the song in BioShock, If I Didn't Care. Anyway,
I just want to say it is worth noting that ordinary people die every day, and
sure.
a lot of this has just more or less gone as a reminder that celebrities, wherever your celebrity is acquired from, because all these people were very different.
Right. Yeah.
They're not above it. It's the great equalizer, like they say.
Yeah. So on that note, the show will not last forever either. And so if you have any geeky memories you'd like to share with us, or any questions you have, or whatever, please send us an email. Our site is growing-up-geek.com. As always, you can follow Rob on Twitter at twitter.com/GUGRob. I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank everyone for listening. And once again, my name is Brad.
Shyamalan.
And we'll see you next week.